Hey, good morning, Instagram and YouTube. This is actually an important one, so I'm gonna have this go up on both, and I'm gonna try to sum it up, get to the points, and it's about inflation. But real quick, the last topic I talked about, which I don't know, people are afraid to talk about because they have a boss or a board of directors or whatever. Um, Anytime it comes up, it, I people and I read, I just want to talk about the economy. Pretending or saying that that topic, does not affect the economy is like the equivalent of saying labor productivity does not affect the economy, which is down 7.5% this morning, lowest since 1947. So labor is making you pay for the way you treat them, I guess, as well. But anyways, to the inflation topic, I just wanted to add more about that. Why I think it could have, and I could be completely wrong here, but I've been looking at the design of it and the samples, how it's sampled, and it, it seems to me, and every time like everyone's saying Powell got it wrong, Powell got it wrong. Like, the Federal Reserve is kind of like a company, and they rely on these other, I don't want to say low level employees, but these employees at a lower level, kind of like when a bank, when someone messes up on a trading desk and there's a scandal, or there are loans given out and there are scandals, people over leveraged. I won't go over the scandals, but they're all over the place. We don't say, oh, the CEO, he did this, he should have known. Like, it is so under the CEO that, and a lot of them have no idea that it's been going. The CEO might come and say, yeah, we should have had better risk management, but, like, how is he supposed to know what's going on way under there? The CEO has to do big picture things, more important things, kind of like the Fed chair. He has to look at big picture, and he has to rely on the data that he receives from the employees at the Department of Labor, the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, or whatever, right? So now to the measure. I mean, like, everyone is saying, why did they get it wrong? They didn't tell us that. Well, it's obvious it wasn't measured appropriately. If the indicator has been working well for so many years and it didn't work recently, that implies, a few things. So there are actually 80,000 goods and services measured in this thing, and 23,000, I think, are from like retail and services. So department stores, retailers, grocery stores, right? And you have individuals in many cases going with a book, looking at the price, writing it. Sometimes I guess they're going online, right? And that's so inefficient, and that is such a boring job. Like, put yourself in that person's position, Now, I'm not saying like I would do the job this way or they would have done it that way, but what if something is consistently out of stock and they have to get it? You don't know who's measuring it. You don't know, like, did they just write, oh, it's usually 3%, so I'm gonna write 3 or 2.5 for this, But this time inflation, because of everything, it really sunk in the cost, So it was crucial, the accuracy. So it goes back to this. I discussed briefly that we should have like blockchain integrated, but we should probably have like these systems with the internet. It should be automatic, We should be integrated with Costco, the outlets for clothes and stuff, and we need to double check the work. Like, that would be, it's hard to change these things like real quick, but what you could do is bring in a new measure, keep the old one. It's been working for a while. Just figure out kind of what went wrong. Was it the pace, but you need kind of a new measure to double check the work, and you could kind of do that. Like, why not take 150 items, whatever it is, like wheat, wheat goes into everything. If wheat is up, what's what's the added cost, to get wheat generally to a retailer? I don't know how you measure it. I'm not an expert, but everything has an added cost. Like, okay, maybe it's a 30-40% markup from this 5-6 ounces of wheat, maybe it's a 30-40% markup. So you look at the price of wheat, it went up this much, mark it up, that's a wide picture. Look at sugar, sugar goes into everything, take these kind of measures. Look at the metals that are going into vehicles. Don't maybe keep looking at used and new car sales, but look at the metals, look at the aluminum, look at these kind of things and figure out the markup to get them to the store, What about clothes? Like, look at the fabrics. I don't know what clothes are made of. Silk, cotton, mark it up, when you're looking at housing, I was looking at like different counties and stuff for the housing index. Why not be aggressive just to make sure you get things right? Why don't you, like, for example, the dislocation is happening near schools. They're killing the kids with the rent. Literally, it's just insane. Why don't you take the zip codes? Like, if you're looking at California, why don't you look at USC, UCLA, Chapman University, these kind of things? If you look at Texas, look at some of the big universities there, and then you'll have an idea, are these housing prices skyrocketing or not, So again, just maybe there needs to be a second measure to look at the base components and figure out the markup, like what it is to get to retail store, If the rent goes up, the markup goes up. If labor cost goes up, the markup goes up. And that's like a double check measure, So you're doing everything like you've been doing it until you update your systems and integrate them, right? And then you have the second measure that's a big picture. So then if you're getting, for example, okay, our regular measure is telling us inflation is 2.5%. But this measure where like wood or lumber is skyrocketing and all of this stuff, it's telling us inflation is 12.5, 14%. Something must be wrong. We need to go back and find out. The price of cattle, the price of, pigs, pork, that's up. And we know to get the chickens from the farm to the retail store, usually they're marked up, 35, 40%. But the labor costs are also up, Why don't we look at a macro picture where we only take a couple hundred indicators? That way, like, when it's the Fed chair actually sits or individuals on the board, they could actually look at the report, of 200 variables, 150, and understand what's going on and say, wait, there is something wrong, at least. We need to go back and look at this into more detail. But that would be my comments on the measure, because the system that's set up, it should work. It's too good to be true, man. They're taking so many measures. Like, how could that system not work? So it's kind of, I don't want to say obvious, but something went wrong at the calculations and collecting the samples, But the system it's insane. I was going through it. They take so many things into consideration. Just double check the work, You always, when you're taking a test, you double check the work. But that's my thoughts on the measure. It's too complicated to mess with, and it's not my specialty, but you could double check the measure. You guys know better, I'm addressing someone as if someone watching this stuff, but generally speaking, the people at the top know better at what affects and what does not affect the economy, and they'll have the experience and expertise to know what to include in a new measure and what not to include in a new measure. That's absolutely not my job, but that's my thought on the measure and how it went wrong. It's hard to blame the CEO for these kind of things usually, but yeah, that's one of today's topics.